Hey everyone, it's Fox from Inferno Fox Gaming. So today we're going to be going through what I believe are the top 10 boss fights on the Super Nintendo. And these might not be the hardest or the most difficult fights or anything like that. I just really like how fun or epic or even like original that they feel within these entries. And most importantly though, make sure you let me know in the comments section below your thoughts on which were the best on this great system. But let's jump right to it. Number 10, Darius Twin, Queen Lantern. So this is one of the easier shmups on the Super Nintendo, but I've got a huge soft spot for this game, thanks in part to the fun gameplay, the colorful graphics, and the fantastic soundtrack. To this last point, this battle is the only one in the game where the boss gets its own unique theme. The battle itself almost looks like bullet hell, though thankfully the shield power that the Darius Twin ships get really kind of dampened down the difficulty with that. And the boss itself is one large hitbox, so again, that also kind of makes it pretty easy, but the initial intimidation factor, along with the great theme, I felt like makes this its own epic battle in its own right. Now, number 9, Donkey Kong Country 2, Creepy Crow. As a kid, this fight frustrated the heck out of me. Now, though, as an adult, I find the challenge really fun and the actual fight itself quite varied. So not only is it an upgrade from the first time that Diddy and Dixie fight this boss, which is at the end of the first world, as the fight progresses, they have to follow Ghost Crow to be able to continue the battle. Then the battle sort of follows as they continue to progress and go through like a stage element while avoiding like cannonballs and whatnot. Now, overall, I still believe this is the toughest boss in the game, with the caveat, though, that both encounters against Captain K. Rool are the hardest. Number 8, Kirby Superstar, the Nova-powered Marks battles. The games in the Kirby series, of course, aren't altogether difficult, and the games really are really bright and colorful, and this battle really flies in the face of this. This is the toughest boss in the game, as Marks has a large variety of attacks, from like shooting balls that just send out freezing projectiles to sort of like Cutman style blades, to even like a black hole that will open up it cover a large swath of the screen. If Kirby gets sucked into that, it damages him for over half of his own energy being gone and fade away, and it's unblockable. The sprite for Marks itself is also that kind of mix of like cutesy, bright, colorful, and kind of creepy, honestly. The background speeding in the background gives a sort of like a finality to the fight. You know you're in the last boss, the last fight in the game, which of course makes sense because victory results in Kirby sleeping, roll credits, and the big happy. And speaking of this version that appears when the credits roll, Milky Way Wishes has Kirby being able to pull really any ability that he wants, as long as he finds like the main progenitor from it. And that kind of makes the battle a little bit easier. The other side of this is when you have to fight Marks as the last battle in the arena mode, which is the true test, because you have to go through like 18 rounds and fight all the bosses in the game, all the mini bosses and everything, plus the all-powerful Waddle Dee, just to have it end with Marks and whatever abilities you've got, and even like whatever energy you have left too. And the biggest part, though, that I felt makes this battle so epic is the music, which helps to signify the importance and the scale of the battle itself. It was really a well-done piece. Now, number 7, Super Metroid, Ridley in Norfair Depths. Not only is the fight great, but the lead-up to finding Ridley up to and including being the hardest area of the game with the tense music and whatnot heightens the overall mood for what is coming. Like that sort of dread and expectation that you know that there's like a tough battle coming. The battle itself, of course, meets that expectation and then some. yeah, unlike fights against other bosses like Dragon, where you can kind of cheese that or trick it, there's nothing like that with Ridley, of course, save the speedrunners and everything like that can. But I always felt like this was a great battle because Samus has to brute force her way through the battle, using everything in her arsenal to outlast Ridley with whatever energy that she has. All the while fighting Ridley, his theme is playing, which is now simply just called Versus Ridley, and it just really helps to bring that intensity to the fight. And this theme later becomes Ridley's signature theme that plays whenever Samus fights Ridley in all future entries that he appears, or whatever sort of future version of him. Now, number 6 is Street Fighter II: The World Warrior, M. Bison. Of course, he's known as Vega in Japan. I'm just going to call him M. Bison because that's how I have played these games. One of the things I remember first playing the Street Fighter II as a kid and getting through the main arcade mode without really having any issues was getting laughably decimated in this fight. M. Bison felt like fighting Shao Kahn in Mortal Kombat 2, except where Khan was a real crap talker, but he was slow and powerful. M. Bison had all of that Shao Kahn power, plus the speed and grace that it takes to be a true master of the arts there. And on top of this, I felt like the musical theme that plays in M. Bison's stage, it really adds to that whole sort of intimidation factor, especially when it speeds up as his energy bar depletes. Okay, really, my energy bar depletes. I really felt like this was the toughest version of the M. Bison fight. I surprisingly felt all future iterations of Street Fighter II, like Turbo or Super, kind of nerfed this final battle against M. Bison. The World Warrior still stands as the hardest version of this fight. Number 5 is Mega Man 7 Proto Man. And this fight is only unlockable by finding Proto Man sort of tucked away in various parts of Robot Master stages. And you gotta find him in a specific order to unlock it. And this is actually surprisingly the first time that Proto Man initiates and that's not. Let me correct myself. I was gonna say it's surprisingly the first time that Proto Man initiates a fight against Mega Man. That's wrong. He does that several times in Mega Man 3 in various Robot Master stages. But there's a sort of epicness to this particular fight because it stays true to that Mega Man 3 style, where this is the only boss in the game that doesn't have an energy meter, so you don't know how much life he's got left. And his attack pattern, kind of like how Mega Man 3 was, isn't all that tough to learn, but he's still a tough foe nonetheless. And while the music is the same that plays when fighting standard Robot Masters, I still feel like it slaps pretty hard. Though I wonder if Capcom missed an opportunity to turn Proto Man's whistle theme into like a remix for this fight, or an upbeat fight theme from Mega Man 5's Dark Man. But I just felt like this was a great throwback to the Mega Man 3 fights, sort of having that again with Mega Man 7. And when you actually beat him, he gives you his shield, which is pretty cool, but it only blocks projectiles, and it gets canceled out if you hit L and R to switch between weapons. But again, you just have to bring up the menu to put it on. It's still pretty neat. Number 4 is Mega Man X2, the battle against Zero. And while we're talking about fighting brothers, let's talk about Mega Man X fighting his brother in arms, Zero, if he couldn't get all of the pieces together before assaulting Sigma's fortress. Now, I always ignore getting these pieces because fighting the X Hunters underpowered, before you beat all of the 8 Maverick Hunters, it was like a real pain in the butt, and it's just like a sort of limited return, I guess. And just simply, I ignore those guys, not just because of the pain in the butt factor, but because of how epic this fight against Zero is. I mean, like, seriously, Zero's theme that plays during the fight, it really makes it. It makes it, because even though it's simple in that it's the same riff kind of repeating every 10 to 12 seconds, it's perfect for the fight because it matches both the intensity of the fight as well as kind of the alarming nature of it. I mean, this is you're fighting the guy that really, I kind of felt like X kind of looked up to him, depended on him as kind of his mentor for in the first game, especially how powerful X seemed in the beginning of the first entry, how he saved X not once but really twice, and just giving him just the whole power and everything like that. The fight itself too is just quite difficult, as if X isn't agile enough to stay away from Zero's onslaught, then he's in a world of hurt. He's in a lot of trouble. And you add to the fact that even if X defeats Zero, poor X has 2 more rounds of fights, and those are against Sigma. So fortunately, I personally believe that these Sigma fights are a little bit easier than the first X entry, but I mean, it's still 3 rounds of fights. It's still worth it though to play this particular fight. Now, number 3 is Final Fantasy VI. And this is kind of a specific one here. It's the Humbaba or Fumbaba second round. And I'm focusing again on round 2 here because the first round sees poor Terra, who had lost her fighting spirit, get thoroughly thrashed by this awful baddie. And then she has to get saved by Celeste and Sabin. The second round also sees this terrible baddie, sort of a more powerful version. Now, without the will to fight, Terra implores Celeste and her friends to save the children and to save the ruined city of Mobliz. Surprisingly, though, when the Celeste party actually takes the fight to the Green Giant, they lose it, literally with half the party getting blown away from the fight. Sensing her friends in trouble, Terra comes out to their rescue in a fully powered Esper form and completely destroys this awful enemy. And she does so by understanding the power of love she has, not only for her friends, but most importantly for the town full of children that she sort of became a surrogate mother to. And she realizes that she has the power to fight, and she has the ability to protect those that she loves. And thus she joins her friends once again. And the main boss battle theme plays during both parts of this second round of battle, and of course being the best boss battle theme in all of the Final Fantasy games. There is no competition. I mean, if you disagree, sound off in the comments section below, but it is the best boss battle theme. Hearing it during both parts of the fight, especially getting interrupted when Terra comes to the rescue, it really makes the fight itself just, again, quite epic, but also heroic and personal to Terra's overall sort of progression as a character. Number 2 is Trials of Mana, or Seiken Densetsu 3, Battle against Dangaard. So this is the only entry here that I never played as a kid or a teenager. I played this on the Collection of Mana on the Nintendo Switch about 3 or 4 years ago, since the posting of this video. And I was absolutely impressed with this whole fight. And I just found it a lot of fun. And again, I'm talking about the original Super Nintendo, or I guess Super Famicom version of this, not the remake. The remake is absolutely fantastic. Love it. Can't recommend it enough. But this... the main heroes are on the back of their winged defender Flemmy as they battle the Benevodon of Wind, with the landscape speeding by below them. And as they fight their enemy, the overall fight sort of transitions into different viewpoints of both the enemy and of Flemmy, who essentially the terrain that they're fighting on. And the music that's playing, it's called High Tension Wire, which, funny enough, that particular title really just seems to match the overall fight so well, just given the altitude, the height of the battle where they're fighting at. And there are also like 3 other bosses that use this particular theme, but this boss theme right here fits this fight so well. And even though this is just like, I think, one of like 6 of these Benevodon battles, this was by far the best fight on the Trials of Mana, in my opinion. And it was the one that I was most impressed with, the most fun. And it was almost the best boss fight on the Super Nintendo. The number 1 goes to Yoshi's Island, powered up Bowser. everything with this fight easily makes it the best. After defeating Baby Bowser, Kamek powers him up using the same sort of like wand power that he uses on all of the other bosses up to that point. It though turns Baby Bowser into Bowser size-wise as he was from Bowser's Fury, except poor Yoshi, he doesn't have a Giga Bell like Mario got. He's just literally has to use his own devices. And it's a crazy fight because those devices, the mechanics of like picking up the giant eggs and firing them at Bowser, they weren't in the game at all to this point. There were giant eggs, but they were really heavy and weighed Yoshi down. Fortunately, that doesn't happen with these particular giant eggs. But just that whole mechanic of picking up and aiming and throwing the egg into the scenery where Bowser is at, that hadn't occurred at all during up to that point of the game. And as the fight continues and Yoshi hits him with eggs, he starts destroying more and more parts of the platforms that poor Yoshi is on. And he also continues to advance towards the screen closer and closer and closer. And it is possible for Bowser to advance enough that he actually hits the platforms Yoshi's on, disintegrating them all, and thus resulting in Yoshi getting hit and falling to his death. And while all of this is going on, an epic guitar theme plays in the background, again speaking to both the urgency and the intensity of the fight. And it takes a whopping 7 hits with these eggs to finally defeat the Bowser's Fury-sized Bowser there. And he, of course, reverts back to his normal Baby Bowser form. And Kamek carries him off away into the night, and Yoshi reunites Baby Mario with the captured Baby Luigi. So, what did you guys think of my top 10 list of boss fights for the Super Nintendo? As I said in the beginning, let me know in the comments section below. I'd love to engage with you guys. I make sure to reply back to comments on a regular basis. I'm like you guys. I'm a video game dork or nerd or what have you. And if you guys know any Super Nintendo game that has a more epic fight, please let me know. Because that's a good way for me to discover it and be able to sort of experience it by your description. And thanks again for watching. I really appreciate it, and I hope you guys have a great day.